Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your sweet Dr. Danni J, and I have an MBSR. Maybe she's right. And at the end of today's show, maybe you will feel that maybe on some level, I might be right. But once again, today we are cracking the relationship code. And what does that mean? There's a code to everything. Locks, there are codes to math. There's codes to everything. And in relationships, you too need a secret. You too need the handbook. And today we're going to speak with leaders in love. We go to the store and we look at magazines and we look on the television. All we see are more money, more problems, more drama. Seems like no one wants to just remain in love. We see the scripted, reality shows, and we think that that is exactly what's going on. That's not real. That is not how it really happens. There are people today that want to love and just want to remain in love. And we're not going to talk, we're going to talk to people with the society accepted attraction package. What does that mean? They have the looks, they have the smile, they have the walk, they have the talk, and they're able to pay a bill or two. And we're going to be speaking with them, but we're going to get it started today with our most wonderful. These two ladies are the most beautiful outside of my mama's. They are the most beautiful women I have ever had the pleasure of meeting. And today, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Alice Rodriguez and Lady Kathy Bowen. Thank you so much for joining me today, ladies. Y'all are so beautiful. We're going to begin with you, Alice. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself so we can get to know you?
Well, I heard you talking about love, Danni, and immediately my mind started going back to when I was a little girl, because many times our core values, our definition of love, who we are, how we love ourselves, it starts when we're little kids. And when you were talking about love, I thought immediately, love is an inside job. If you don't love yourself, you don't know how to love anyone else. And so when we attempt to get married and complete ourselves and to find the one that loves us so that we don't need anybody else, I simply say that an incomplete vessel can never be filled by another person. And so in order to receive love, you have to love yourself and know how to give love. So I'm excited about tonight, and I am looking forward to the discussion on cracking the relationship code.
Awesome. Now, you are an attorney. Now, I know I call you Super Alice because you wear many, 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 many hats. But tell us a little now, you are an attorney by profession. What do you study and things like that?
Well, I'm a litigation attorney, which means I do trial work, and I've done that for many, 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 many years. I won't say how many years, but quite a few years. But that's what I do as a matter of my profession. That is not who I am. I am just like any other human being, and there are things that cause me to be very human. There are aspects of my life where I seek to be really divine, but the bottom line is that is what I do. That is not who I am. And the moment you get twisted, your self-image, you get it twisted and wrapped around a title, I think it really becomes a challenge for you to be real with people and just to love people. All of us are really just the same. We want to love, we want to be happy, and what we do to make money is not necessarily all of us. It's not the complete package.
Awesome. That is so awesome. I couldn't wait to get to you. You're sitting so quiet and so beautiful. Oh, but she's a powerhouse, everybody. Let's go ahead and get to know Kathy.
Okay. I'm a pastor's wife, and that was the dream of my life as a little girl. So you could say I'm living the dream. I'm daycare director here at our facility, and It keeps us busy, just a busy life. But I have always felt that my goal and my purpose for being alive was to fulfill my husband's dreams as far as what God would have for him and be his full-time support. It's never been about me, and I don't have any problem with anybody else that makes a huge living and makes the big money rolling in, but it's just never been who I am. My whole life with our children and our family, it's just been I wanted to be the best mother that I could be to my children. I want to be there for my husband and whatever needs that he might have. If he's on the road, I don't want him to worry about things here. And I just feel like I've fulfilled my purpose in helping to fulfill the family's purpose.
That is so beautiful. She's so sweet. I just fall in love with her.
I know, and Danny, we gotta say that she fulfills his needs and he fulfills hers. Because you just got a brand new car, didn't you? Yeah. So I'm dropping that so my husband can hear that.
Subtle hints. She's subtle. Well, I like to refer to the women as the brace for the men of the family. Because every now and then the men get out of shape, they get out of line, and we need sort of a proverbial chiropractor, so to speak, to get them back in shape and keep them where they're supposed to be. And so when we come back, what we're going to find out is who one of these ladies actually staked it, she saw it, she staked it, and she went after her man. We're also going to find out exactly what it takes not to lose yourself. When you're defined before a relationship, we want to know what it takes to continue to be who you are after a relationship. And I think after a relationship starts, and I think that is what's so important today, is that so many people get this idea. And I tell them, one of my things I keep in line all my life, I always abide by, is start the way you can hold out. And that it means that if you are a person one time, they're going to expect you to be that afterwards. So we're going to have that and more when your sweet Danni J returns. For sticking with me. It's so great to see you here. I am your sweet Dr. Danni J, and today we are cracking the relationship code, leaders in love. And I have with me today the honor of gracing our presence today, Lady Kathy. I always refer to first ladies by their first name. You're just Lady Kathy. And Super Alice. Everybody has a nickname, okay? So what we want to do is, Alice, tell us a little bit about who you were before you met your husband.
Well, I'm a pastor's daughter, so I have not been able to get away from the indelible impression in my heart and my spirit and my upbringing that makes me know that without God, nothing is possible. And with God, all things are possible. And I say that because we all have a world view. How do we view the world? And the way we view the world ultimately determines how we set out to do anything else. So with that perspective and that world view, as the 10th of 10 children, my mom and dad had 10 children. I was number 10. They say the best for last, the perfect 10. My dad has another story. He said I kept interrupting. But the bottom line is that as their 10th child and their only girl child, they had 9 boys before they had me. I grew up just willing to press, to be tough, to fight my way. And my parents were able to give me a vision for my life, and that included completing an undergraduate degree and going on to law school and starting out in a practice and a career. And so I got married a little bit later in life, not like most people. I was married at 18. No, I'm kidding. But I got married a little later in life. He's my best friend. So when you ask what I do, who I am, what was my life before, it was really being on a path with goals, specific purposes, knowing what I wanted in my future, with my family, with my friends, with my associations, even my physical fitness. I call them the F's. Everything was important to me in terms of staying on track, being an intentional woman. And when my husband came into my life, I was just as intentional, and I may talk about that a little later, but you know, I did an application, I asked for the Social Security number, all of that, but I had that put in me by Father Power. I started out with Father Power, and I really believe that that has a large impact on the choice of a mate and the journey that you embark on in relationships. And my parents were married for 53 years before my mom passed on. So I looked at my husband and I said, you can't get rid of me, so make sure that I'm what you want.
We're going to discuss a little bit about the family aspect when we bring your husbands on. But, okay, y'all. Y'all will never believe this story. I couldn't wait to tell this story. I can't tell it. Okay, Lady Kathy, who were you before you met Pastor Chris?
Honestly, I was just a small town girl from Michigan. Lived in the same house all my life until I came down to Georgia to go to college. Never even dreamed about leaving Michigan. Had no aspiration at all to get out of there. I knew everybody. I was comfortable there. Just had a real small country church that our family went to, and I was raised in all my life. It was my comfort zone. But my pastor just kept pushing me and trying to suggest that I get out of there, because in the little town that we were in, there was nothing there. I worked at McDonald's, and not putting that down in any way at all, but that was like, I had already went up into management. That was as high as it was going to go, hosting birthday parties and things like that. And my pastor just kept pushing me and saying, this is a dead end. You need to break away from this if you're going to make anything of your life. So I wanted to please them, and I thought, okay, I'll go to Atlanta. I'm going to make it for a semester. I'll come home. I'll be a better Sunday school teacher, because I was going to Bible college. I thought I'll know a little bit more than I do right now about the Word. And then once I got here, of course, that's like the end of the story. I met Dr. Chris Bowen, future Dr. Chris Bowen, and within just a few weeks of our friendship, it just developed very fast. I knew really soon that this was the man that I was supposed to spend the rest of my life with. And one night while he was speaking in a chapel service at Beulah Heights, I really felt this urgency to commit myself to him. And I was just floored by that, because that was not the kind of person that I am. But I wrote him as he was preaching. And I wrote the scripture that Ruth said to Naomi, where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. And I thought, how forward is this? And how awkward is this? So I handed him a note, do you like me, yes or no? A little bit beyond that. And I gave it to him and like ran, because I didn't know how he was going to respond to that. And then within just a few weeks, we were engaged, and it's been no looking back ever since. No more Michigan.
Such a true love story. I mean, there is the aspect of true love in every relationship. And when we come back, we are going to meet the men. So men, y'all have found a little bit about the ladies, and when we return, we're going to learn about the men that have captured these beautiful women's hearts. We are going to fall in love with the couple. We are going to learn more about them and who they were. We're also going to find out more about me and mine when we return. Welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking with us. I am your sweet Dr. Danni J, and today we are cracking the relationship code. We're speaking with leaders in love. Earlier in the show, you met Alice and Lady Kathy, and they are the women that hold our next guests in line. But we just want to find out about men and what they feel is most important in a relationship and what they feel the secrets are in cracking the relationship code. Okay? Let's begin with our first guest, life coach, Tony Rodriguez.
I think when we first set up for this scene, we saw that there is a specific code. The subject is cracking the relationship code, and a code loosely defined is a accepted pattern of behavior, and a lot of times we don't know what the accepted pattern of behavior is in a relationship. I noticed when you had the ladies up earlier, they're sitting next to each other and all this. And when Pastor Chris and I sat down, we were like this because there's a code, there's an accepted behavior. And so when entering a relationship, you got to determine what you're going to base the rules of the relationship on. You're not born, and no one gives you a book and said, this is how to be married, this is how to do this is how to do that. And so you have to determine, what are you going to use? And I know for my wife and I got to a place in my life that I just looked at the Word of God as the final arbiter on how we're going to interact with each other. A threefold cord is not easily broken. So just in terms of my belief, myself, my wife, and Jesus Christ in the middle, tied all together, is going to withstand anything that can happen. And so there were some things that I found out that helped tremendously in us having a fantastic relationship.
Now we want to meet Pastor Chris Bowen. I wasn't saying last names, but I just wanted you to know that I did know your last name. Now, he is the pastor, the leader, the shepherd of Living Faith Tabernacle in Forest Park, Georgia. And we just want to know a little bit about him and tell us a little bit about your background. And not only are you a life coach, a pastor, a husband, but he also teaches couples in his church as well. So can you give us, I gave a little bit, but can you expound on those?
Sure. Yeah, I'm a life coach here in the Atlanta area for Dream Release Coaching, and very excited about all that God is doing. Also the senior pastor and the bishop here of the church at the Tabernacle, Living Faith Tabernacle in Forest Park. Also entrepreneur, just love doing everything that I'm doing for the kingdom of God and seeing what God is allowing us to do. I love sowing into young people's lives and to young marriages, to show them the importance of what God is able to do in their life. Also a professor at Beulah Heights University. I teach full-time there as well. So I just like to sow seed into people's life and to show people what God is able to do when you have a happy relationship at home. And I think that's the key to it, is having a good, happy marriage. And once you do that, then I think all the other doors open up for you. And I can truly say, sweet Danni J, that I'm living my dream. I've been married nearly 30 years now, and very excited that I'm in a place where I'm living the dream that God has set for me.
Now, the women told us how they met their husbands. I want to know, Pastor, now Lady Kathy told us how she knew that you were the one and what she did. What was the secret that you know when your wife was coming?
My wife and I were waiting on each other for all of our life. We're very excited to be able to say that we waited. We were both virgins when we found each other, and we were keeping ourselves for one another. But I also had a fleece to the Lord and told the Lord the woman that would be my wife would come to me and say directly, where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. And it was only a few days after we started dating, and I knew that she would be my bride. And so 8 months later, we got married.
That is awesome. You men are very strong. And that is something that we as women look for. I know I do. We look for strong men, and some women look for men to just baby them and just coddle them. But at the end of the day, my word says, I want a king. I want a king of my household. I want a king so that, I heard Super Alice so eloquently put it, I want to treat him like a king so he will in turn let me be his queen. So when we come back, we're going to learn a little bit more about you, what it's like to be married, and if you ever envisioned yourself with the ladies that you have today to walk beside you. When we also return, we're going to find out how you learn to love again after you've loved and lost. We're going to discuss some things. Now, Tony, before the break, we just want to get you a little bit about about, because you were married before, correct?
I graduated from the U.S. Military Academy at West Point and was an infantry officer. I was an airborne ranger, and I was married when I was in the Army, and my first wife, unfortunately, she passed away. But we were together 18 years. And but God is a God of second chances, and I found a fantastic wife. He that findeth the wife findeth a good thing, obtaineth the favor of the Lord. So I found a excellent thing, and she's here today, and we're excited about that. And I've been an entrepreneur now for 18 years, and full-time in business and coaching, and I'm living my dream too, Pastor Chris.
Amen.
You asked us a question the other day. If you had $10 million, would you do anything different with your life? And I'd be doing the exact same thing with the people that I'm doing it with.
That is so awesome. It's awesome to hear a man and a woman say how beautiful their marriage is and how much in love they are. And so that's absolutely awesome. When we return, I want you to tell us a little bit about loving again, learning to love again, and learning the difference. This and more when your sweet Danni J returns. Welcome back to Sweet Dr. Danni J. Today we are cracking the relationship code. We are working with leaders in love. And right now we're speaking with Tony Rodriguez and Pastor Chris. Now before the break, Tony, you were telling us a little about you were married before Alice. And can you tell us a little bit about learning to love again after you've loved and lost?
That's an interesting, I think that's a highly individual response depending on what people are going through. When she passed away, I never fell out of love necessarily, and I always felt that I would be married some other time at the right time, at God's perfect timing with the right person, and it all worked out. I stayed optimistic. I knew that there was no honor in self-pity, and I just clung to the cross. It was my faith that held me during that period of time in between, and I just stayed hopeful. And I'm not saying it wasn't hard, and I'm not saying that I wasn't bordering on depression and all those issues. But God doesn't give us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind, and has equipped us with everything that it takes to overcome. And I just count myself blessed. And maybe we'll get a chance to tell the story a little later, how Alice and I came together. But lightning has struck twice in my life, in a good way. And so for anybody that's out there that has had something happen to where you're starting again in relationship, I'm just going to encourage you to stay hopeful.
Now, you are now I want to get the man's secret before the women come out here. Okay, now you are the forefront of your family. Everybody's there. What are some of the things that you do for the men out there? What are some of the things, Pastor Chris, that you do to ensure that Lady Kathy always feels just the most important thing in your life?
I think the most important thing that husbands need to do for their wives is to continue dating them over the course of marriage. To be a successful marriage, I think that you have to continue to date. Do the little things that you used to do. Continue to do those small things. The little things as giving her a red rose, taking her out to eat. The small things. I think that's the most important thing that you can do, because the greatest need that a woman has is to feel loved. She wants to feel loved, where on the other hand, a man wants to be respected. So I think it's very important that we continue to love our wives, and as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for it. So we have to continue to love our spouse. We have to love them. We have to nurture them. We have to do the little things. We have to continue to do the small things. And when we do that, I think marriage becomes very successful.
Now, what are some of the things that your wives do that make you feel important, that makes you say, you know what, she thought about me this much today?
Pastor Chris touched on something that's really the key to the relationship code, and it goes back to the ancient scrolls where Paul is writing instructions. And the greatest need for a man is the need for respect. If you ask a man, would you rather be loved or respected, most men I know said, I'd rather be respected first. And if you ask a woman the same question, it's love. However, if we kind of forget a little bit and get a little bit in the flesh, the very thing that the other person needs will withhold when there's times of conflict, where I know that she needs my unconditional love, but because we're having a little bit of a disagreement, I'll withhold a little bit of that. Now, she's not getting what she needs, And so now she withholds a little bit of respect. I hear him calling me, but I ain't going in there right now. And then he says, don't hear me call me? Well, I'm not opening the door for her when she gonna get in the car by herself. And she knows I always put my arm around her when we leave out the house, but I'm not gonna touch her. She's just gonna walk to the car. And see, that begins what's called the crazy cycle.
Right.
And one of the secrets is love and respect is unconditional. My wife does not have to earn my love. I should not have to earn her respect. That's not what the word says. And see, that's the secret to breaking out of the crazy cycle, because the crazy cycle can keep a relationship in flux for years.
Absolutely.
And so my wife, the way she keeps me straight is she unconditionally respects me. And even when I'm a little bit off track, she'll gently remind me without compromising her respect for me. And that makes me want to love her even harder.
We're going to have so many other vital secrets when we return. You have to know that sometimes you got to want to do it. And that's what Sweet Danni J is about. It's about finding the sweeter point of you. We're not placing the blame out on anyone else. We don't look anywhere else to place the blame. What we want to do is find out what our life is like and how we can make it better when we return. Welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking with us. I am your Sweet Danni J, and today we are cracking the relationship code. We are speaking with leaders in love. We're speaking to those people who have accomplished or who are walking in their dream goals, and they have managed to find love and remain in love. And now we have on the set, y'all, we have the couples together. Boy, y'all look beautiful up there. Y'all look like y'all ever been married so long that y'all look like brothers and sisters. So, I mean, but are you just as excited now as you were before?
You're asking me?
I am.
I am just as excited, Danny. And quite frankly, I do have to say, though, again, I think it goes back to my upbringing as a pastor's daughter and understanding godly principles and what love really is. It's not so much excitement all the time, because a marriage is not just built on emotions.
That's right.
Emotions change. Some days the emotions may be very high, some days they may be different. But the bottom line is that if there is a commitment to the foundational principles of love, it doesn't matter what your emotions are. Emotions are something that we can choose to do. For example, we're told to love our enemies. Well, how many people really feel like loving their enemies? And so we're not going to say every day everything is 100% perfect. There are days when he just wants to look and say, probably my wife is special. But the bottom line is, I know he loves me. And since love is not an emotion, it's a choice. It is a decision. I choose to love my husband. What does it say about me if I chose wrong? This is the one I chose, and he's the best out there. And it is my job to make sure he knows that, has an S on his chest. And since love is not an emotion, I can choose to love my husband. It really doesn't matter what my feelings are day in and day out. Am I committed to the love that I have for my husband like Jesus Christ is committed to me? And if I am, doesn't matter how I feel. You just do what you have to do, because that's what love is. Love is not feeling, it is you do.
Love is a verb, y'all. It's a do. Love, do. Love, do. Yeah. Lady Kathy, you do love your husband. Are you just as excited now as you were when you first met him?
Honestly, I believe I'm more excited, just because of the fact that after all these years together, you do experience so many things, and we've even talked about it today, the different seasons that you go through as a couple. And, you know, we had the first 5 years of our marriage, it was just me and him. I wouldn't have traded that for anything in the world. But then once the children come in, it is work, because you have to keep your focus right. Mm-hmm. It's so easy to get distracted. And as a pastor, it's been easy to get our sights off of each other sometimes. And, you know, he's working at building a church. He's working at getting his doctorate degree. I'm at home with the children, and it's really hard not to keep, you know, get your focus off track. But it's work. You have to work at that. But it doesn't have to change the fact of how much you fall in love with each other, because I love this man more now than I ever dreamed I was even capable of loving somebody. And it's not that you love everything that they do or everything that comes out of their mouth is just so anointed and, you know, oh my goodness, I'm just, you know, melting every time I hear him speak. It's not like that anymore. It's deeper than that. It just gets deeper. That's right. And it truly does. It's just the old song that they used to have. It gets sweeter as the days go by. It truly just gets sweeter. And every season is different, but every season is sweeter.
Oh, Pastor Chris. Now, before we take our break, I want to know, now you've been married 30 years, and I'm sure Lady Kathy looks exactly as she did 30 years ago. And I know you look exactly, because men don't age. Men don't age. You don't change at all. Nothing's gray. Everything's fine. But what is the secret that you would tell your men, that as you see your wife age, as you see your woman age and grow, how do you continue to make her feel just as beautiful now as she was when you met her?
I think it's very important that we realize that we have to keep ourselves up physically, spiritually, emotionally, and I think that's very attractive. I think for the women, I think for the men, it's so important for us to see them not always in, you know, the footy pajamas, and for the men to make sure they take a shower and clean up before they go to bed. Those are very basics, but it's something that I feel like is very important that after we get married that oftentimes we forget, and we simply forget about doing those little things. Sometimes we begin to let ourselves go, whether it be letting our hair go or letting our weight go, and I think that we need to just really watch that and see what our spouse actually married, and when they've done that, I think we need to keep up ourselves. So that may mean the extra trip to the gym. That may mean, you know, pushing back from the cake table a little bit more to be able to keep yourself up. I think it's vital that you keep yourself up, your appearance as well as your spiritual man.
Well, see, and he touched on some very important things. What it took to get him, that is exactly what it's going to take to keep him. If you cooked when y'all met, you're going to have to cook 30 years later. If you put makeup on when you met, 30 years later, you're going to have to use some makeup. Man, when you brushed your teeth before, you had a little beard, you had to cut up. You're going to have to do that now. It might not take as long because not as much hair is there, but you're still going to require the same amount of effort. Brush that one tooth. You brush it and you take pride in it. It's yours and it's hers. And y'all have it together. So when we return, we're going to find out exactly how men are able to ignore those advances when we return. We are having so much fun. Thank you so much for sticking around. I am your sweet Danni J, and we are cracking the relationship code. We're speaking with leaders in love, and they really are in love, y'all. They really, really are. Now, one of the things that I would like to do is give us some nuggets. Just learn a little bit more about one of the things that we have problems with today in today's society is faithfulness and infidelity. It's all over the news, and it's become like the thing to do. And I grew up in a foundation and in a family that said simply because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean that it is acceptable behavior. Just because all your friends cheat, come out from amongst them that are cheating and go get you some new friends. Better yet, watch the game. We got pay-per-view, baby. Have fun. All the games, dish, direct, whatever we can do. But we just want to talk today about how do you, now I would like to begin with Lady Kathy because, you know, everybody's so safe in church. But we, but we would like to speak with Lady Kathy about some of the things that she finds herself doing that and reminiscing about with Pastor Chris that he does to make her feel special. She told me a little story before about a text message or something, and I want you to tell me a little bit, share that with us again today.
Okay, I'd be happy to. I like to brag on it. There was one time back in the summer I was having a lot of physical issues, and a lot of things were going on in my body that I didn't know what in the world was going on with me. I knew part of it was age, but I didn't want to fess that was the only thing going on. I knew there was something deeper going on than just getting older. And it was causing me to, emotionally, I was a wreck. Physically, I felt worse than I've ever felt in my life. I had no energy. And there was one night at church, it had been, Sundays are pretty long for us, and it was a Sunday evening. I was really, really tired. I'm on the worship team, and I remember thinking the whole time that we were on the platform, Lord, just get me through this service. I'm just so tired. I'm not feeling anything tonight. I just want to go home. And when I sat down, I just totally felt like I had bombed. I felt like it was all over my expression. I thought, man, this whole church is probably noticing how I'm feeling. And I sat down, and I had my phone on vibrate, and it kept going off, and I thought, who is calling me during church? Everybody I know is here. Why would anybody be calling me during church? And I looked down, and I had a text message, and it was from my husband, who was sitting right beside me. And it said, just wanted you to know that you were the most beautiful thing on the platform tonight. And that just, what it did is just, I know, I hear everybody gasping, and it still makes me do that now. I wish there was a way, if I was smart enough, I would have saved that forever. I don't know how to do that on my phone. But it just made my day. And he does little things like this all the time, all the time. I can go out to the car, there'll be a note in the driver's seat. Sometimes I'm at work, I'm the receptionist as well as the daycare director, and sometimes I'll come in and he'll have a meeting or something. When he comes in, he'll hand me one single rose, or just little thoughtful things that just totally, totally make your day. And it has never had to take anything expensive. It doesn't take a dozen roses to get me excited. It gets one. It can be a petal, and it will get me excited. And it's just that he, after all these years, is still that thoughtful to do those things for me. And that makes me want to give him everything that I have inside of me.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Now, I was raised, my parents are still together, but I want to touch on family values and just being raised by mothers or single moms or whatever your background. Tony, you speak a lot of family, and you value family very highly. Can you tell us about relationships and family and what we need to do and instill in our offspring so that we can encourage the same kind of values for their families that they produce?
Well, quite frankly, the way I grew up, it was not in a fully functional family, if anybody can relate to that. And so many times when you come out of a situation, one of two things will happen. You'll duplicate it, or you'll say, you know what, I'm not going to go that way. I want to do something different. And so I chose to live differently. And once we settled on the fact that the Word of God is the foundation for our behavior, then that sets the course for everything that we do. I think it's important that young people in the family and children, especially in the early ages, they're going to mimic what they see. And so it's up to us to set a fantastic example in our attitude. It's the stuff that we say when we don't think anybody's paying attention. It's the vibe that we give off. It's how we treat each other in front of everybody else. It's how we treat each other behind closed doors, because people can sense from your demeanor, they can sense in the unseen what's going on. And so I think if we just work on work on what we can control. I can control my actions and my attitude. Those are the only two things I can control. And make sure they're consistent with the teachings of Jesus Christ as a Christian. And my wife does the same thing. And then just understand that the foundation of every great marriage is friendship. My father-in-law taught me that, a deep and abiding friendship. Because long after people who just go from one high emotional high to the other, that's immature. That's teenage stuff. Unfortunately, we have 50-year-old men acting like teenagers, and that's why we ain't got nothing. And so you got to get some maturity. And then if you focus on a friendship, I would never want to let my friend down. If I would never do something that it might be in the back of my mind where I couldn't look her in the eye, that in and of itself keeps me focused on what's important. And then I think our influence with our other family members and friends should help shape the way they live their lives, and hopefully for the positive.
Oh, that is so powerful. One of the things that we have to remember in our relationships as we obtain our goals is you can't forget who you are on the inside, the very core of you, and that will determine how you're able to relate to the people that you're with, your family, your friends, your loved ones. Joining us today. Thank you so much to our panel guests. Today we cracked the relationship code and dealing with leaders and love. We learned about communication, foundation, and learning about ourselves and understanding what it is that we want. When you go into a relationship, the important thing is that you cannot change someone else. If someone changes, it's more than likely you. Until then, be sweet to yourself.